you have a passion for something, or if you're very passionate about your idea, it's so important to do it because you don't want that passion to go away, or you don't want to like forget about it because it's probably going to be such an important part of your life if you really just do it.
Hi everyone, welcome to MyEffect Today, bringing you candid conversations with young innovators who are taking action to create meaningful social impact. I'm your host, Kelly Lovell, and in this episode we're talking with Khloe Thompson. Khloe is a 13-year-old international philanthropist and founder of her own organization, Khloe Cares. Through this organization, which she founded at the age of 8 years old, Khloe supports people experiencing homelessness in her hometown, Los Angeles, California, has brought clean water to schools in Ghana, and inspires young people to become changemakers in their own community. Most recently, Khloe Cares started the Giving Tuesday Kids movement in partnership with Giving Tuesday Now to support residents in Los Angeles and across the United States in donating masks to organizations in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. Khloe, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So to start off, let's share with the audience a little bit of your backstory and some of the amazing work that you've been doing. Can you share with us how you got started and what you do with Khloe Cares?
Well, with Khloe Cares, I have my own nonprofit where I make tote life bags and I fill them with bare necessity items, and I pass them out to homeless women, as well as I teach kids leadership workshops and business skills so that they have the opportunities to start a business and just have the same opportunity as me, as well as I take trips to Ghana where I install bathroom facilities and water pumps.
And what inspired you to take action? Because I always find with young change makers, the biggest barrier often isn't about the idea. It's usually about how to make it happen. So can you share a little bit of what inspired you to take action and how you got started?
So what really inspired me to take action was I would pass the same homeless woman on my way to school, and I would just ask my mom why or how she was out there, and she would tell me some reasons, and I would just feel really bad for her. And I just really wanted to help her, and so I told my grandma that I wanted to make something for her, and we both were kind of like, you know what, you're learning how to make these tote bags, and because at the time I was being taught how to make them, and so why don't we just incorporate what you're learning into what you want to do for this woman? And so we ended up doing that, and me and my mom, we went back and forth on the items that we wanted to put inside the bag, and then that's kind of like what happened, and that's why I took action.
And so at the age of 8, you became executive director and CEO of your own nonprofit. And you've continued to grow that impact. You've now partnered with Giving Tuesday Now to start the Giving Tuesday Kids movement. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, the Giving Tuesday Kids movement started last year, December of last year. Was the first Giving Tuesday with kids involved, because I had seen like on their page that they didn't have a lot of things for kids 18 and younger. They only had people 18 and older giving back on their page, and I realized that like other kids, just kids in general, should be able to have an impact. And so I ended up sliding into their DMs and being like, I want to start something with you guys that is all about kids giving. And that's what happened. And that's how Giving Tuesday Kids was born. And now we have Giving Tuesday Now coming up, because I feel like giving, it can help when it comes in good times and bad. And it just helps with so many people. And so that's what Giving Tuesday Now is all about. And I'm very excited for it.
Well, we can give it any time of the year for sure. And what I find when you're first starting off as a young change maker, getting started is obviously one challenge, but kind of building that momentum and kind of building it into something can be difficult to know how. How do you start a business? How do you reach out to organizations? Do you have any advice for other young change makers who may be in a similar spot where they want to start something up and just are stuck on how to take it that next step?
Well, just do it. I feel like if you don't have the support, if you feel like you don't have enough money to do it, or like you feel like you don't have someone rallying you up like behind you, just still do it. Like, you should be able to know that if I believe that I can do it, then everybody else is going to believe, and they're going to start to see what you're doing, and they're going to start to want to help you. But also another thing, even though people might want to help you, don't be doing it just to get famous or just to get like the fame, because that's not like the important thing of giving. As well, like if you have a passion for something, or if you're very passionate about your idea, just do, like, it's so important to do it if you're very passionate about something, because you don't want that passion to go away, or you don't want to like forget about it, because it's probably going to be such an important like part of your life if you really just do it.
Well, I think that advice can apply not just to young people, but to leaders all over the world. Just do it. Take action for the UN Sustainable Development Goals or the causes you care about. And with that being said, what can leaders do to support more young people in making an impact?
I feel like leaders that can, what they can do is, I feel like, is coming out to people's events, posting about people's events, giving advice to younger people who are getting into either what you're doing, or help them find a mentor or become their mentor. There's so many things that leaders can do to help other people, either my age or younger, to be able to, grow, in their organization, because I feel like it's just such an important thing to have a mentor, to have someone, just to be able to come to your events, just like all those things. I feel like it's just really important.
I second that. I think mentorship is one of the most powerful ways to help us find our way, because we have the passion and energy, but sometimes we just don't have the experience that comes with being around the block a couple times to know where we can go. Now, I'm really big on real talk, because I find a lot of young leaders, we can hear believe in yourself, we can do it. But then when we actually get into it, we often find there's challenges and it's not as easy as it seems. So with that being said, another word for mistake is experience. So looking in your last couple years of growing Khloe Cares, is there a time where you've made a mistake or something didn't go right that looking back now has actually shaped your journey or helped create the leader you are today?
I feel like just life in general, life is just such a learning experience. Every part of life is a new learning, a new hurdle to jump over, And I feel like with everyone in life, or anyone with an organization, you'll know that, like, when it comes to having it, life is just a crazy learning experience. And I feel like you learn so much just through, having life.
Well, and you've really had to learn a lot on your own. So you were doing school independently while still running your business. How did you balance those challenges?
You kind of just have to learn how to hold your plates, and you also have to organize your day. Like, I have like a piece of paper that is always like on my wall, and it has the time that I wake up, the time that I need to start this subject, the time I need to start this class, this subject, and then when I take my lunch break. So it's all stacked up and organized, so I'm able to stay on track. So I feel like having organization skills is very important.
I think that's actually really critical right now, especially with so many young people now learning at home and having to be independent workers who may not have been used to that before. Scheduling it in. Also, do you put times with your schedule? Because I think there's a difference between a to-do list and like a timed schedule.
Yeah, it's like at 9:15 you need to do this, and then like at like 7 or whatever, like I have it on time slots. So it's also really important to have it like timed too.
Yes. And is there been any like good resources that have really helped you in getting the word out about your venture or recruiting other kids and young people to help you?
I feel like social media has been such a huge platform, because you're able to get the word out to so many people, and so many people are able to see it. So many people are able to come and be like, oh yeah, I'm there. Because I feel like it's so much harder going door to door. And also now we don't have that kind of option. We only have our phones and how to get the word out. So I feel like social media is like a very critical thing to have if you really want to get the word out.
I want to talk to you a little bit about boundaries with that, though, because I also find there's a challenge because the phone, you as you said, is our only way right now to connect. But how do you balance not getting lost in the distraction of social media that can also come with that?
I feel like just staying focused on what you came there for and what you came to talk about. And also, there's two different paths that you can take with social media. You can take the path of, stuff that's inspirational, stuff with people who can actually help you in life, or you can take the path of looking at people that you feel like are going to put you down. So I feel like also taking the right path on who you follow or who you watch and what you watch on social media is a real important thing, and I feel like that's your decision to make. And if you choose the wrong path, then you're going to end up getting distracted and by these other people and what they're talking about and what they're saying, instead of getting I'd rather get distracted by someone who's going to uplift me than someone who's going to put me down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making a conscious intention of who you're surrounding yourself with, both physically but also virtually. I think that's a really powerful point for young people. A couple fun questions. I'm really big on mentorship. You've talked about mentorship, about the power that that has in really helping you scale your ideas. So if we were to play mentor matchmaker, who would be three individuals, anyone in the world, who would be three individuals that you would love to meet and connect with that could help your work or you could learn from?
I would love to meet Malala. She's an amazing person. She fights for girls' rights and she risked her life just for her craft. And I feel like I would love to meet her and just be able to like just see her and like just breathe the same air as her, just to get like a little bit of that amazingness of her and just be able to talk like ideas of stuff. And then also Michelle Obama, like she's Michelle Obama. She's the first African American first lady. Like that's so cool. I just feel like she's just such a cool person to talk ideas with. And then Oprah, like she's Oprah. Like who wouldn't want to meet Oprah and exchange ideas, because like she fully started from the bottom and then made her way up to the top. And I feel like she's just so amazing. And then also she does a lot of work in Africa. I don't know where in Africa, but I know she does a lot of work when it comes to water as well there. And I would love just to work with her and talk about my ideas and what I do in Ghana.
Well, I'm sure at one point we're going to be hearing from someone in the future. I can't wait to meet Khloe Thompson. She started at age 8, and now look where she is. With that being said, so those are the mentors you want to reach. Where is one area right now in your ventures that you're looking to grow or expand? Like, where do you need help?
I feel like when it comes to growing, I feel like there's always points in when it comes to your organization where you need to grow. But like right now, I'm not able to do a lot of what I'm so used to doing. Like I'm not able to travel. I'm not able to pack my bags. So I can't really say I need items to pack my bags because I'm not able to go out and pack them. I'm not able to go out and give them out. And also, I feel like just more people being a part of Giving Tuesday now. Like it's on Tuesday. But if you go to givingtuesdaynow.com or .org, you can go on there and you can see so many different ideas on how to give back at home, especially during this time. So I feel like that's just one thing that I would say.
So yeah, with that in mind, what are some ways that right now, so young people who are listening to this, what are some ways that we can take action and make a difference in our community within our resources?
I feel like important things for Giving Tuesday kids. I feel like there's so many things that you can do. Like right now, I'm making face masks for people because so many people they need them. I'm making STEM kits for people, so you can just look up some easy STEM kits, and you can either give them to like your local, I don't know, store or school. Um, what else can you do? You can do letters for people. You can send out virtual letters or actual letters. You can send out like little smiles. You can make little smiles. or you can just make chalk art, doing just the little stuff can really be helpful during this time.
Well, that's the thing is sometimes we neglect that the little things create the big things, right? You have any individual drops of water to make a wave of change. With that being said, one more fun question for you. If you had a change maker superpower and you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
Okay, I have two things because there's like so many things that I would love to do, but like my main two things I think is I would end homelessness, just finding a way for homeless people to have homes, because I feel like it's such a big thing and I want to end it, as well as giving access to clean water to people because I feel like that's just such like who doesn't want access to clean water, and I feel like it's not fair that that's not like a right to people. So I feel like I want to give people access to clean water. So I think those would be like the two things that I would do if I had a superpower.
So you could do that in one superpower. Gift everyone with homes with running clean water. And then you could get both, right? And do you have any last kind of advice or tips for young change makers who are now really inspired by you and they're going to go into their homes and take action?
A way to take action during the time is join Giving Tuesday Kids, or join Giving Tuesday, or join Giving Tuesday now, because it's such an amazing way to start giving back because there's so many different ideas on there for you guys. There's so many people that you can team up with. You can become a part of what they're doing. There's just so many things and there's a wide variety.
And remember, making impact doesn't have an age prerequisite, right? You can start at any age, and I think you're a key role model when it comes to that. If you can do it, everyone can, right? That is the attitude that you had mentioned. How has running a nonprofit at such a young age changed your day-to-day life? Like your school, your friends, has it affected it at all?
It kind of affected how much time I spent time like with my friends. Like it made me go into homeschool, but I had been begging my parents to be homeschooled for I don't know how long. So I feel like that was one thing that I was very excited for. But like one thing is like also I don't really live that close to my friends in the first place, but I don't get to like go see my friends as much because I travel a lot, but I still have days in the week where I actually get to see people.
In my experience, well, you get more of like global friends, and they may not always be the same age as you. They could be leaders and mentors, and those that you help, like the homeless women that you've helped on the streets as well. I know you've made friends with many of them, so your friends can change and broaden. With that being said, we've talked about the challenges that you've had and the advice that you have. What do you think the biggest hurdle is right now that teens are facing pre-COVID? That because our world's now changed, right? So what is the biggest challenge you were facing pre-COVID, and how do you think that's going to change now?
I feel like mental illness, like so many people, like you don't get to spend time with your friends. You don't get to see the people that you love like every single day like you used to, or you don't get to see your family. I think that's like been like a big thing. I don't really get to see my grandma anymore because she doesn't let us go in the house. Like there's just so many things that like when it comes to mental illness with so many teens, and I feel like this is just like the time for it to just like rise up right now, and I feel like that's just such a bad thing.
Do you do any techniques to help support your mental well-being?
Yeah, I like to read. That's my way to like kind of leave basically, and like reading a book, like you're able to use your imagination to go to a whole place where this isn't happening, I feel. I like to take baths with bath bombs, just like to time just to relax and just really breathe in and breathe out during this time. I kind of online shop a little bit. Shopping makes me happy. I do a little bit of that. And I also like to binge watch shows. That helps too. Because it just helps, like you just get into the show and you like forget about everything else that's happening. So I feel like that's like what I like to do to help when it comes with my mental health and staying happy and staying positive during this time.
Yeah, find your positive outlooks. I really second that. Find something that brings you light. I would also add to that something that is different than the work that you're doing during your day to day. That might be so. If you're always using your left brain and doing a lot of analytical work, then do something creative. If you're doing a lot of creative work, maybe do a Sudoku puzzle or something that's a little bit more logical. Because if you use one side of your brain a lot, the other side gets fatigued. I also think being near nature. So sometimes we can't go for walks, but maybe if you can get plants inside your house or do something, bringing in some fresh air always helps as well. With that being said, I'm curious because we've talked about mentors in terms of who you would like as a mentor. Have you had the opportunity to be a mentor yet? And if so, anything that you've learned from that experience?
Have actually. It's just so cool to say that I've been able to be a mentor to girls in Ghana, and I feel like I've learned that like they live a lifestyle of no complaining, and they live a life of where like their house is like the same size as my room, because I just feel like I've learned so much from them, like to be happy. Like they're happy no matter like what's going on with them. They're happy just to be alive, and I feel like I've learned just to be not to be upset off of like the little things, just be happy based on just be happy of the little things and not get too upset of the big things.
Be grateful and appreciative for sure. I think living in gratitude, you realize how abundant the world is when you start to realize what you have versus what you don't have. We sometimes focus so much on what we lack instead of what we already have in our midst. With that being said, I think global perspectives is so important as young people because you really, like you said, you see a whole different perspective on the world. Are there resources or ways that you stay in touch with the girls in Ghana? Or like if there's young people out there's like, yeah, I would love to connect with other young people and somewhere outside of my community. Where could they look for that?
I feel like having like a virtual pen pal would be cool, or like having a pen pal and you send out letters every day, and you guys talk to each other. I feel like that's a cool way. I feel like getting to know I feel like that's like one of the main ways to get to know someone that's either like just not in your community, because I feel like that's such an important part of this time is being able to talk to other people, because I feel like if I weren't talking to people, I would be going insane at this time. So, finding a virtual pen pal or finding a pen pal would be a great way to meet someone internationally or maybe even your next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm. And for those who don't necessarily, so let's say there are the girls in Ghana, for instance, want to start something up and they might not have access to all the resources that you've had in the United States. Do you have any advice for, okay, this is going to be a two-part question. One, do we have advice for leaders to bridge that gap so we can equip more young people with the tools they need? And two, for the young person themselves, until those leaders take action on that, what could they do to still kind of get started, even when they might not have that support network?
I feel like with young people, you should just connect with the people around you. There's still so many people that can help you that are not just leaders, because you never know, like your next door neighbor could be like this great person that does so much work with what you want to do, and you would never know because you're waiting on this other person as your mentor, your leader, or whatever, to come and help you when you never know. There's probably so many resources just right next to you. And then for the leaders, like I feel like find someone that either you look up to or like you think would be like a great mentor, and or someone that would be a great mentor, or you want to be that great mentor. Research the things that they want to do, or if you're already doing it, help them do it, because I feel like there's so many people like who need help during this time when it comes to getting started, or they want to do something during this time but like they can't. So I feel like there's just so many options when either you can be a mentor, you can just donate to someone, you can come to their events all the time, and be like their first number one supporter, Everybody needs that one person, and I feel like I have that one person, and I have multiple people like that. Like, it's my family that are really like that, and I feel like somebody, just even if you just have that one person, it's great, you know?
Find one person to believe in you. I 100% agree with that, Khloe. And I really want to just underscore and second that the first point you made about being open to who can be a mentor and a leader, because you're right. I think especially with the social media age, we look to the influencers and the people we read about in media or see on TV and see them as like, oh, I need to learn from this person. And you're right, if we're so focused on that, we neglect to see all the amazing mentor candidates that are right under our nose that we may interact with. So I really love your point of releasing judgment and expectation of who can be a supporter and being open to receiving the support that's around you. I think that's such a powerful point in wisdom. So with that being said, we're with leaders and we're looking at the SDGs. It sounds like you really you want to end poverty, so that would be SDG 1. Are there any other gaps that you see within kind of the global challenges that we should be paying attention to?
I feel like there's like, yeah, ending poverty, as well as there's like so many people who can't get like a proper education too. I feel like that's important. And that's why I install water pumps, because I really think it's important for people to get an education, because kids, they have chores every single morning and also when they get back from school, especially in Ghana. And so out there, what they do is they have to fetch water, and they have to walk hours and miles just to get not even clean water that will probably end up either getting them sick, or they can get like an infection. There's so many things that can happen to them just because of that water. And then they have to walk those miles back with this heavy jug on their head, you know? And then they're late for school, and they can't go to school until they finish their chores, and they can't get the proper education until they finish their chores. And so that's why I'm installing water pumps, because so that they don't have to walk as far, so they don't have to lose their education or lose the amount of education that they get, because I just think it's so important for people to have a proper education. So knowing that there's so many other people who don't have the same opportunity as us is really important.
I really want to focus on that for a minute, because you actually touched on a really important point. Is oftentimes the challenge or the problem that we want to solve is not isolated. It's interconnected, because you started off saying you want to solve education, but then so the intuitive solution would be, okay, let's figure out how to bring book supplies or something related to education. But if you look deeper, the root challenge is not that specifically. If you want to address education, you have to look at first the environment and other factors, which ends up being clean water. So I really like how you pointed out the fact that to really solve problems, we have to understand the complexity and the interconnected nature of how life, environment, social circumstances affect and influence that problem. And then that the solutions may not always be as straightforward as we think them to be. I think that's actually a very profound and wise approach. And we really do need to apply that complex thinking to social problems. Now, how did you learn about that? Did you research on your own in that you found the connection to the clean water? Or how did you go about kind of when you were looking at education, finding your way to clean water?
Well, it actually started with clean water, and it kind of ended up realizing why it's so important. And we did a lot of research on what happens, and we also asked the kids too, why are you late for school sometimes, or why does this happen, why does that happen? And they would say because we have to do our chores, and we have to get water, and we have to walk miles and miles and miles just to get clean water, and so I feel like it's so important to be able to do that and be able to research like maybe you want to help with education, but like you said, Kelly, like you don't just buy books. You need to look deeper into like what's the actual problem, or like ending homelessness. Like people like think what I do, I make bags and that's ending homelessness. No, I'm helping people get through their days. That's what my main thing is. But the way to end homelessness is finding homes, is finding something to get people in homes. I feel like that's the important part of that too.
So to summarize for our listeners, to really start off, number one, identify the problem you want to solve or the cause that you're really passionate about, and understanding that could lead you down to all other things. You don't have to have it all figured out right away. But two, as you just mentioned, research and really understand the challenge. You also mentioned something else that I want to underscore, which is to understand and learn of the challenge through those with lived experiences. So actually speak to the individuals who are experiencing the challenge. I think that's so important because we can read a lot about it, but the people who are writing about the challenge are not often the ones who are there experiencing it. And so we don't get the same perspective of someone who is late for school because they're trying to get clean water. We get the perspective of they're late for school because we're observing from a third party lens. So I think that's really important so identify the problem, research it, talk to people and individuals who have lived experience or are more close to the problem you want to solve to understand their true needs, and then create a solution. Start small, start somewhere where you can. So like you said, you realize you can't maybe create homes for everyone yet, but you can start by helping them get through their day by days with your care bags. So start somewhere that you can within your own means, and then grow with mentors. Did I summarize that okay?
Perfectly.
Do you have any final words for young kids out there for their projects?
Just know that there's other resources like Giving Tuesday. It's such a great resource, Like try to find people or find things that you could either start with or find organizations that match with what you want to do, and maybe try to team up with them to see what they do so you can maybe incorporate it into what you want to do. Find those resources because they're just very important in the long run.
Yes. And actually, that's a good last tip for everyone who's listening is if you don't know where to start, or maybe you don't want to be an entrepreneur, I want to actually just preface that. You don't need to be an entrepreneur to be a change maker. So if you really want to make an impact, but you aren't prepared to take on the responsibility of starting your own organization like Khloe, finding organizations who are already doing that work and being a service to them, asking how you can help the organizations who are already working towards the challenge you want to solve, and using your skills in that way is 100% doable and just as impactful as starting your own organization. So thank you, Khloe, because that is also a good point. Is finding organizations is a great way to start. Giving Tuesday has a huge resource of all of those as well. So that's always a good way, is finding databases and things that you can do searches for and find organizations related to your cause. Khloe, thank you so much for joining us on MyEffect today. You're a bright, shining star, and every time I speak with you, you have just grown your impact and have more wisdom out of a 13-year-old than I've ever met, and I'm sure many of our listeners will agree with that. And for our listeners, if you resonated with the insights shared in this episode, give it a like and share it with members in your community that need to learn about the inspirational work that Khloe is doing. If you haven't already, subscribe to this podcast. And most importantly, I invite you to join me and Khloe on MyEffect to take action for causes in your own community that you care about. Because remember, to create a better world for tomorrow, we need to take action today.